Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tales, where secrets slip, lies unravel, and the truth always has a twist. Real stories, raw confessions, shocking betrayals. Drop a comment if you've ever caught a red flag too late. Now let's get into today's tale. Parents arranged a family game night. Just for laughs, they said. I was made the butt of every joke. You're still single at 30, so you get the cat lady card. My sister cackled. I left mid-game. And they still don't know I heard them say, she's the family disappointment. I, 30, female, never thought a stupid game night would be the breaking point for me. But here I am, months later, still unpacking the emotional shrapnel from one fun evening that unraveled everything I thought I knew about my place in my family. I've always had a weird dynamic with my family. We're not the dramatic, screaming type. On the surface, we're painfully normal. White picket fence in a sleepy neighborhood just outside Asheville, North Carolina. Sunday dinners, birthday cupcakes, pictures of the grandkids on the fridge. But beneath it, there's this invisible line between what they expect and who I actually am. And I've been standing on the wrong side of it since I was a teenager. I'm the older sister. My name's Cassidy. I work as a librarian at a university campus nearby. I love what I do. I'm single, child-free by choice, though I'm careful never to say that too directly to my family. I live in a cozy 2-bedroom apartment filled with plants and books and silence. I've got a cat named Saffron who I adore. And no, I don't feel lonely. But if you ask my family, I'm the one who never got it together. My younger sister Belle, 28, female, followed the path they wanted. Married Wesley, an orthopedic surgeon, right out of grad school. They have 2 kids. Already, Hudson and May, and a golden retriever named Archie. Belle's the golden child. Always has been. Pretty, popular, high-achieving, and a master at making other people feel small in ways that come off as playful, but dig deep anyway. My parents, Judith and Leon, are suburban royalty in their own way. My mom is retired now, but spent years as a school administrator. And my dad's ex-military turned backyard grill philosopher. They host everything. Every holiday, every milestone, every excuse to play perfect family. I used to show up to everything, even when it made me feel like an outsider. Even when I'd sit through dinner after dinner fielding questions like, any new guy in your life? Or, when are you going to give mom some grandkids? I never fought back. I never exploded. I smiled. I changed the subject. I played nice, until game night. It was a Saturday evening in mid-November. I remember it was cold and drizzly, and I debated not going at all. I had planned to just stay in, make soup, reread an old favorite, maybe finally finish my jigsaw puzzle. But Mom called earlier that week with this bubbly enthusiasm. We're doing something different this year, a game night before Thanksgiving. Just for laughs. I should have listened to my gut. I really should have, but I showed up anyway, like always. I brought a bottle of red wine and a pumpkin bread I'd made the night before. I wore a nice sweater and put on mascara for the first time in weeks. I wanted to feel presentable, seen. Belle and Wesley showed up 20 minutes late with the kids in tow, both of whom were immediately overtired and sticky from snacks. My dad poured drinks. Mom set up the dining room table with a stack of cards that looked like something she printed from Etsy. She explained the rules. A custom family roast game. Each card had a prompt, and everyone would vote on who in the family it best applied to. Nothing too mean, she promised. Just lighthearted fun. I smiled, though something in my chest clenched. The first few rounds were silly, most likely to cry watching a commercial, most likely to fall asleep during a movie, most likely to forget their anniversary. We laughed, took sips of wine. Wesley got roasted for his love of dad jokes. My mom got teased for crying during soap operas. Even my dad took a hit for his obsessive labeling system in the garage. Then things shifted. Belle picked a card. She was already tipsy, flushed and giddy, most likely to be a cat lady. She didn't hesitate. Cass, obviously, she said. It was obvious. Everyone laughed. Even my dad smiled. And he usually stayed out of anything that made people uncomfortable. I laughed too, sort of. I forced it, tried to make a joke, Something like, "Hey, cats are low-maintenance roommates." But then came another card, this time from my mom, most likely to spend holidays alone again. All eyes turned to me. Wesley raised his glass, smirking. "Cheers to Miss Independent." And then came Belle's custom card. She held it up dramatically, giggling. "Wild card. Give this to the biggest family disappointment." There was a pause, longer than the others. And then Belle's grin stretched even wider. "No offense, Cass." She held the card out to me. I froze. And then, as if that wasn't enough, my mom reached for the next card and said, "Come on now, don't be sensitive. It's just a game." I don't remember standing up. I don't remember grabbing my coat. I only remember the thundering in my ears, the thick ball of shame climbing my throat. I said I had to get something from my car. No one noticed the shake in my voice, and I stood out there in the driveway next to my own taillights, breathing hard, hands shaking. I told myself I'd just calm down, go back in, and finish the night. I wasn't going to make a scene, but I forgot my phone, so I turned back to the house, quietly opened the front door, and walked into the hallway. They were still at the table. They didn't hear me come in. "She always gets weird when someone mentions her being alone," Belle said, her voice low but sharp. "Like, sorry, it's not our fault she can't keep a boyfriend." "She's not mad. She's embarrassed," Mom replied. She thought life would turn out differently. And then Belle again. "Let's be real. Cass is the family disappointment. She's the only one who never grew up." My dad didn't speak, but he didn't disagree either. I turned and walked out, this time for real. That night, I didn't answer texts. I didn't answer calls. I let voicemail after voicemail pile up, each one a mix of, "Hope you're okay," and "We were just joking." They had no idea I'd heard them. I wanted to scream, but more than anything, I wanted to disappear. I couldn't stop replaying it. How easy it was for them to make me the punchline. How natural it felt for them to mock the life I built, like it was a failure instead of a choice. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch until dawn, with saffron curled against my leg. My apartment felt safe for the first time in weeks. Didn't go to Thanksgiving or Christmas. I ghosted them completely. I didn't know it then, but that night was a beginning. Not just an ending. After ghosting them through the holidays, I started doing something I hadn't done in years. I let myself be angry, not annoyed, not quietly resentful, angry. I stopped rationalizing it, stopped explaining it away with, "They didn't mean it," or "It was just a joke." No, they meant it. Even if they didn't say it with venom, they said it with comfort, familiarity, like they'd been thinking about it for a long time. And maybe they had. Belle reached out in mid-December with a voice message. She sounded equal parts defensive and confused. "Hey, not sure why you're still mad. It was just a dumb game. Everyone got teased. You know how we are. Mom's kind of worried. Can you not be dramatic about this?" I didn't answer. I didn't even listen to the whole thing. I just deleted it. I think that was the first time I really acknowledged how different we were. Not just in life choices, but in values. I would never, ever humiliate someone like that. Not even lightly, not even as a joke, and for weeks that's all I did. Think, sit in my quiet apartment, journaling, rereading old letters from happier times, and watching the slow unfurling of an anger I had never allowed myself to feel before. Let it take up space. Then in January, I did something impulsive. I had received a flyer at work about a year-long librarian exchange program in Reykjavik, Iceland. I almost threw it away when it landed in my mailbox, but something made me stop. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't a vacation, it was a real job, cold, remote, unfamiliar, and it terrified me. So I applied. Not because I thought I'd get it, but because it was the first time in a long time I wanted something, anything, to change. 2 weeks later, I got an email, interview scheduled. I sat in my tiny kitchen with the window cracked open in the depth of winter and said aloud, "What if I actually go?" And I did. By March, I had sold my condo to a quiet couple from Tennessee, rehomed some of my plants with co-workers, and booked a one-way ticket. My cat, Saffron, went to live with my best friend Riley, who cried harder than I did at the airport. I kept the Iceland move to myself. I didn't even post it online. I didn't want them to know. Living in Reykjavik felt like being dropped into someone else's dream. Everything was quieter, simpler, fewer people, fewer assumptions. I worked mornings at a community library near the harbor. The light was different there. Colder, yes, but soft in a way that made even the most ordinary streets feel painted. In the evenings, I wrote, not just in a journal, but stories. Little things at first, pieces of memory stitched together, fictionalized, but clearly rooted in my own experiences. Some are sad, some bitter, some unexpectedly funny. One afternoon in May, a friend I met through the program, Sigrun, asked if I'd ever thought about publishing. She ran a small indie zine and loved one of the pieces I'd read aloud at a library event. I laughed at first, brushing it off, but she persisted. So I submitted a story. It was called Family Feud, and it was about a woman who spends her entire life showing up for her family, only to realize, too late, that they never saw her as anything more than background furniture. It wasn't flattering, it wasn't subtle, but it was honest. 2 months later, it was published in print. A literary agent in the UK reached out afterward. She'd read it and wanted to know if I had more. Funny how fast things shift when you stop watering dead gardens. Back home, I stayed off the radar. I didn't return texts. I didn't respond to my mom's cheerful email that said, "Just checking in. Hope you're having a great year, sweetie." No mention of what happened, no apology, just erasure. I watched from a distance as Belle posted her curated life on social media, another dance recital, another family photo, another caption that read, "Charters blessed," and I felt nothing. Not envy, not anger. Just distance, like I had finally stepped off a stage I never auditioned for in the first place. It wasn't until autumn that the real irony landed. That tiny story, the one I scribbled in my freezing apartment, written half out of grief and half out of stubbornness, was being turned into a full essay collection. My publisher wanted to call it the Cat Lady Chronicles. I laughed so hard I cried when they told me. Belle had tried to humiliate me with that label. Now it was on the cover of a book. I didn't tell my family about the book, but someone else did. Because one day, a comment popped up on an old inactive Facebook account I hadn't used in years. It was my mother. Proud of my daughter Cassidy. She's written a book. Always knew she had a gift. I stared at it for a long time. That fake pride. That public claim. That rewriting of the story, where she still got to be the loving, supportive mother. It made my skin crawl. And still, I didn't reply. Let her have her fiction. At this point, I've been gone for over a year. No one in my family really knows me anymore. Not truly. I've moved to Portland now. Still rainy, but I like the trees here. I found a rental with a garden, and Saffron's back with me. Older and grumpier, but still loyal. I've got a writing desk near a window that overlooks a cherry blossom tree, and for the first time in my adult life, my space feels mine. I haven't returned to Asheville since I left, and then, last week, I got a new email from my mother. Subject line, Thanksgiving. This year, just those words. Nothing else, no acknowledgement, no reference to what happened, no apology, just a casual invitation to pretend the past didn't exist, and now I'm staring at it. Not angry, not sad, just tired. I hadn't replied. I stared at the email for nearly 10 minutes, just watching the blinking cursor, as if it were daring me to respond. Thanksgiving this year. That was it. No, we miss you. No, we're sorry. No mention of what happened, just the expectation that I'd fold back into the family like laundry, quietly, neatly, no creases. It struck me then. They didn't want me back. They wanted the version of me they could control, and for the first time in my life I realized I had no intention of giving them that, but I wasn't going to ignore it either. Not anymore. I was done disappearing. I was done being polite. So I typed, "Hi, Mom. Thank you for the invitation, but I won't be coming home for Thanksgiving. I spent a long time thinking about that night last year. The game, the jokes, the things you and Belle said when you thought I wasn't there. You all laughed at me for being single at 30, for living alone, for not giving you grandkids. You turned my life, one that I worked hard for, one that makes me genuinely happy, into a punchline, and when I walked out, none of you came after me. You didn't check to see if I was okay. You didn't apologize. You called me sensitive, dramatic, a disappointment. What you didn't know is that I heard everything, every word. I stood in the hallway while you discussed how I never grew up, how I was the family disappointment. I stayed silent. I left. And while you kept playing games, I went and built something for myself, something real. My book, the one you're so proud of now, isn't about success. It's about survival. It's about reclaiming my voice after spending years being belittled and boxed in by the people who were supposed to know me best. You don't get to erase what happened just because I'm doing well now. You don't get to claim me in my victory when you mocked me during my quiet. I'm not angry anymore, but I am changed, and I won't be shrinking myself to make you comfortable again. Tell Belle I said hi. Tell Dad I hope he's still winning. Fantasy football. Take care, Cassidy. I read it over once, then again. And then I hit send. The weight that lifted off me wasn't loud. It was quiet, solid, the kind of peace that settles into your bones and tells you, this is the beginning of the rest of your life. I didn't expect a reply. Not really. But 3 days later, one came. It was short. Cassidy, I didn't realize how deeply that night had hurt you. That wasn't our intention. You're right. We should have done better. I should have done better. I thought teasing was love. I see now that it wasn't. Not for you. I'm sorry. We'll be here if you ever want to come back. Love, Mom, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't everything I had hoped for. But it was something. A first step. I didn't respond. Not to be cruel, but because I no longer needed to. I had already come. Back to myself. A few weeks later, the bookstore in Portland where I host readings featured my book in the front window. Big letters. A little sign that said, Local Author Spotlight. I walked by it on my way to get coffee. A young woman stood there, flipping through it, then smiled and took it to the register. I didn't say anything. I just kept walking. And that moment, watching a stranger find something of value in the very thing I was once mocked for, felt like justice.